Okay, welcome back. It's been quite some time since I made a deck profile. My time has been eaten up from life stuff, Master Duel, and PS2 JRPGs. So let me get this one taken care of so I can go back to playing Xenosaga. For the ride line, we have a starter that doesn't matter, your boss unit Gravidia, so we know where that's going, Rudis, and Cubisia. So starter, play whatever you'd like because art, or if you want to bait your opponent. I ended up choosing the Orfist starter and these two because people were still thinking that I was playing Orfist and not expecting the Gravidia. So Rudis is going to get you your World Order, the grade 2 that will make a token. I will talk more about this when I get to the grade 2s, but this will make a token. Turn 2, Rudis will give a unit 5k, so you can give 5k to the token, make it 20. This plays through 1D trigger. You can end up setting your side so it's either 18 or 20 or higher. So once again, if you're going first, you can make the 18, no problem. That plays through a D trigger, this plays through a D trigger, and this will be your first attack. So you have very strong turn 2 rush play, and that is incredibly important considering the win con of this deck, which is going to be playing a very aggressive early game, pushing your opponent in, and then using Gravidia to nuke your opponent's board and then begin to pressure them with power columns, because you have this to put constant pressure on them with a high number, a crit by itself, or you end up just creating powerful sidelines because of your trigger doubling power, if you decide to do that. But primarily your rear guards are okay because you can make 23. If you have one trigger, it's like 33, and that forces a front trigger or a 2-card guard out of your opponent, or any special skills. So it's pretty solid. Remaining copies of Persona Ride. This being a on ride, filter 2 from your deck, draw 2, is absolutely insane. Like, being able to Persona Ride and effectively draw 3 and deck thinning 2 is one of the strongest things I've ever seen. I really didn't think that this deck would be strong. I thought this was going to be a horrible gimmick, and I just wanted to play it for fun. I ended up getting the cards, and I guess things went up in value because of BRO, but this is actually a very strong deck. It's really interesting. You have offensive pressure, you have defensive capabilities because of all the card draw that you have, so you inadvertently get shield to your hand. And the way that you're playing, where you're being aggressive, taking away resources from your opponent, also has its defense capabilities, arguably. And the constant deck thinning can allow you to hit more triggers, which is just, overall, it's an incredible deck. It's surprisingly fun, and I must say that I enjoy this more than Orfist. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Here's the grade 2s on the table. And you have these two. Okay. So these two make a token. This list is Solemn's list on paper, but I will continue to talk about tech choices and the decisions that I made when considering. But this list I just copied, and now I know what I want to do with the deck. But first off, your copies of the order. The only reason why 2 are played is because 1 is going to be searched, so you just want it to resolve. You can end up making 2 and just leaving them in the corners of your board and just have them for the entirety of the game, because they're not going to go away unless you activate Thumbarino. And at that point of the game, you're going 4 games, so just watch yourself and you'll be okay. Place out of this and 1 of this. I placed it of this because it gains shield. Shield is incredibly important. This becomes a 15k continuously, even on your opponent's turn, if you have like 5 orders in field or grave. So this is solid. This can bait your opponent into swinging into it if they're threatened by it or whatever, but overall it's an important card. This is what I mean where this gets shield. The deck has shield, rather. The deck also has quite a lot of card draw, so you'll be able to draw into a lot of triggers and defensive pieces if you choose to tech them in. So this is super solid. It's only a 10k turn 2 and 3, more than likely, but turn 4 this is a 15k, which is super strong as a body, and the 10k shield also is incredible. This is a one of, just to fill space since I was playing 3 copies of so this is just a one of. It is cool. for a turn 2 play, but really it's just here because it gains power. Yeah, so it's the same exact effect. This is just once again meant to be a 15k body. The on place is nice because turn 2 you can end up using this if you soul charge once. Turn 3 you can use it just by soul blasting your ride line for the soul from your van. It's okay, but this can definitely be changed out for something. The 3 copies of Scissor Bar. Now the only reason why I did this was to see how this would work over I'll put it on screen right now. It's like Destija or something like that, Destajade. But this allows for 2 things. One, you can swing for 23 turn 2. Now Destajade, whatever it is, also swings for 20 since he becomes a 12k when you use a world order, and that means you can make 20 if you put an AK behind it. So once again, your lines would then be 10, your Vanguard token is 20, and then this is also 20. Now the problem with that card is that gets turned off turn 2, and I don't think people realize that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if you look at the orders, it specifically states that if you only have world orders in your order zone, Abyssal Dark Knight and Dark Knight only activate. Now, if you have this and a Meteor, you do not get Abyssal Dark Knight. You shut it off entirely. So that card then just becomes a 10k body if you have any Meteors in your order zone. Now, you could probably think that that'd be okay. Don't put Meteors in your order zone then, or just use what you have. Like if you're gonna put 3 somehow, like 2 from Vanguard skill, hard play 1, and then you nuke 3, sure. But there's been situations where, more often than not, that 1 Meteor gets stuck or something because I have 4. And I'm not gonna nuke 4 when I only want to do 3 for the effects, because I don't need to kill 4 units in Eco 3. Whatever it is. Even then, this card allows you to make 30k lines with a shadow token. So that's super solid. If you end up making a shadow token, you just leave it in the column or just anywhere on the sides for the entirety of the game, and you only commit to front row because it's super easy. Then this becomes 30. This becomes 30 without triggers, which is forces a 2-card guard from your opponent, excluding front triggers, and other cards don't do that, other than this and this, which are the only other main deck cards that are going to gain power. Destija doesn't, and most of the other cards are in the Brent Gate card library are either text in some way or gain power through one of the other archetypes. So you don't have many generic options at your disposal. Also, Destija, whatever his name is, that card also, the only interesting thing to note about it is that it becomes a 12k turn 2. Now, Different Fight mentioned this, and I'm going to mention it again, but with a different philosophy. That is the equivalent of playing a 10k vanilla back in G era, where you end up making a situation where you have 1 on side, you have the token, so this is 15, and then you have this, let's say it's 12, because you're going to have Abyssal, you're going to have Dark Knight, so that gains the power. They can't swing into either of these. They can only touch your van, because your van is a 10k line, so either they swing at van, give you the damage if you didn't have Bubble Mine in your back row to attempt getting around being damage denied, but you could also, they could commit a booster. Now, if they commit a booster, that means one of 2 things. 1, they're committing a card to the field that you're going to take away turn 3. They're also going to lose the shield from the card. That's the second thing. And you're forcing them also to commit other cards indirectly because they want to hold tempo against you. There's a psychological thing in Vanguard where more than likely people tend to commit when they're getting pressured. If you are playing and you see your opponent commit, you're going to be more incentivized to commit so that you don't start losing tempo in the game, because at that moment they're then controlling the game. So going on to the Meteors, even though I don't like orders, but hey, they let me draw cards. 9. I don't know how I feel about this in terms of ratio. It's okay. I've resolved, I've only resolved knocking 5 Meteors out and then hitting 1 crit. And then I ended up having the crit go on like the left and right side just to like pressure my opponent. But that was it. I didn't just drop 5 Meteors like at all during like the 2 tournaments that I went to. Oh yeah, I should have probably mentioned that. I went undefeated on Friday with this deck. I'll put that on screen now. I went undefeated on Friday with this deck, and I ended up getting 3rd place at Fordham Comics for like a 20-person tournament, only because Chris Allen just had to check the 2nd crit. Bless your soul, dude. Continuing on, 9 Meteors, it's okay. Like, you can play 10, you can play 8 arguably, if you want to play like other cards to be more aggressive. I also thought about playing the 10k boosters actually, because the 10k boosters with anything that makes 15 is 25, so that's super solid for turns 1, kind of for turns like 2 and 3 primarily, and then anything beyond that is just still super solid because you're making magic numbers. But this was okay for me. More often than not, I would end up popping 3 Meteors for 2 turns, and then I would just sit on like popping 1 continuously just to pressure my opponent, because at that point I ran out of resources and I was just playing basic game of Vanguard with them. PGs, I don't have anything to say about them. They're PGs. This is also a part of Solemn's list, the 2 Bubble and the 2 Thumbarino. You wanted the 2 Thumbarino for a higher power ceiling in the deck, so that this can be applied to when you're going for game. It's fine. I've seen people play Gravidia Wells. That's also fine, because you end up just making a 20k line turn 2 if you do the same exact thing, where once again you make the L and then tell your opponent to hold the L. So it's okay, but this is really good for mid to late game when you're trying to push, but you do have to be very careful, because this, once you take care of the shadow token and it gets off your board, then your power numbers will then be decreased unless you have additional copies of Persona Ride, or you just like sack triggers. But you have to be very careful with this card, honestly. And I've been definitely considering like playing 3 copies of Bulbul Mine and then like 1 Wells or something like that, just so that you'd be able to put additional Meteors into your hand. And the additional copies of Bulbul Mine are just so I can see it more early on, and I can put it down turns 2, or put it behind Vanguard turn 1, just to be aggressive and continue to push for damage. But really, I just want to avoid being damage denied, since you want to be as aggressive as possible and you want to keep tempo as often as possible. And that's the most important thing with this deck. So considering more rush options instead of this being a stronger mid to late game card, and focusing on early, is definitely something that I considered. Going on to the trigger lineup, I played 8 crit. Same philosophy. I ended up playing the 5Ks because there have been situations where I wanted to commit this, and I made a 13k line instead of the 4k that the other trigger has. Because to this day, I haven't used that skill. And to this day, that skill hasn't allowed me to make magic numbers at all. Like, it's just there. It's a crit with an effect that's cool, but ironically enough, the 5k has mattered more in Overdress than it has in any point in the history of Vanguard. 2 front triggers and 1 drop. I didn't have a 3rd front. So this can just turn into a front trigger. I was fortunate to have this D trigger resolved during tournaments and multiple play sessions, and it was okay. I kind of understand the philosophy of playing draw triggers so that you can commit them early as units. You can make a 13k line, have the shadow token on the side, and then you can pull the shadow token back and then put it here, so that you end up creating a 28k line. Your triggers will always go over here because shadow token with anything that's in your grade 2 lineup makes 30. So 30 is the 2-card guard. This is a 2-card guard, so all your triggers go here. So you're pretty alright. And you're taking like minimally 6 cards away from your opponent, excluding if they take damage or anything. So it's pretty solid. But there's arguments for playing the front triggers. There's arguments for playing the draw triggers. Personally, I want to experiment with playing 3 draw and see where that gets me. But I do think playing 3 fronts are correct, since you want to increase your offensive capabilities as much as possible. 1 over trigger because the SP stays in the Orfist deck, and then 4 heals. This art specifically because it's a girl. Hope you enjoyed this deck profile. As always, more content to come. I've been playing JRPGs. I've been enjoying my time. You guys should play video games too and enjoy your time, honestly. Go play some old video games. You know, if you made it this far into the video, play some old video games. Like, have fun, man. That's it. I'll see you guys later. More content to come. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great day.